This is the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by Dasos Digital. Now, here's your host, Brandon Wirth.
Greetings, sports fanatics. Welcome into the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by Dasos Digital. George Julie, Brandon Wirth joining you here live on News Radio WBRN. Big thanks to all of our radio listeners out there, whether you're on 96.5, 1460, or if you're joining us on streaming, WBRN.com and the WBRN mobile app. You're getting the first taste of the content first, folks, and we appreciate you because you're the OG fans. We still have all of our great other fans, though, post-produced. We love you. Maybe not just as much, but we love you, too. On Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and well, you got another platform you can listen to the show on. Go online to YouTube. That's right. We've hooked this show up to YouTube. Moving forward, you can catch episodes on YouTube. What we're going to do is we were originally going to put all of the old episodes on there, but there's a lot, and there really is a little bit of cluttering on the page for a lot of the stuff that we have planned, a lot of exciting stuff. So what you can do back to episode 70, which is a new playing field where we went over the rules coming forward for the West Michigan area. Anything from 70 and newer, episode 70, that is, you can find on YouTube. The rest of them are all still available, Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify and WBRN.com, so you can still listen to them, but you can now have the option to tune them up on your TV, your phone, your tablet, your computer, and listen to the West Michigan Sports Show no matter what you're doing. So it's really cool stuff, and especially with all the great stuff we have coming up here, Big Country Y102, as football season is around the corner, we're going to get some cool things up here on the page as well as those pages, so you're going to want to subscribe for more. Speaking of the Gridiron, we got a great show for you today. We are doing a quick preview, just a little sneak peek of the preview for the CSAA slate this Gridiron season in the fall of 2024. So we're talking CSAA gold and silver outlooks for this year compared to the results from last year, what teams need to improve on, what things they can strengthen, as well as we'll get into their schedules, the strength of schedule, and more coming up here. So we'll start with the CSAA gold. Last year, we'll run through the standings as well as each team's respective results. This was the year to be a Cardinals fan in football. Coach Seltzer's team pulled off an incredible season. Perfect conference slate, 6-0, 10-2 overall, including a district championship in what was a wild ride in the postseason where they ended up upsetting Spring Lake, that is. Spring Hill's a campground just down the road from us that I was thinking about for a second there. But winning in overtime against Spring Lake, as well as beating perennial powerhouse Whitehall in that District 25 final by 1 point. Really just a phenomenal season that they'll never forget before they lost to South Christian in that last postseason matchup. So Big Rapids getting the win in the conference this year, following up right behind Tri-County, the team that Big Rapids had to beat in the final week of the conference regular season, and did so. Tri-County 5-1, 7-3 overall. This team was a hot football team in the month of September. They were really on an absolute tear. They really showed out in some big ways. They beat Reed City on the road as well. Some dominant wins on M37 against Grant and Newaygo. Just really had a really tough time when it flipped into the month of October. They ended up losing 3 of the 4 games. They lost to Big Rapids, they lost to Belding, as well as Kingsford in that semifinal district round for District 66. But I think especially with Tri-County, there's a lot of promise with this group. They are really providing themselves as a good team with a lot of talent, and that's going to continue to do so with that coaching staff, and especially for Coach Butler and company. They're looking to continue that even onward, coming up this year, hunting for a potential conference championship. Reed City finishing in the third spot. It was a really slow start for this group, 1-3 in their first 4. But boy, did they come back in a big way. They lost to Big Rapids at Big Rapids, and ever since then, firsthand, I can tell you this, that team changed in a big way, going on to win an incredible 8 straight games before they lost in the state semifinal to Kingsley 7-37. But it was still a fantastic season, district and regional crowns for Reed City. It wasn't the conference season they wanted, but boy, they made up for it in the postseason nonetheless. Central Montcalm in what would be their final season as a CSAA Gold member, finishing right at the 500 mark, 3-3, 5-5 overall. A team that showed a lot of spurts of a lot of good things. I mean, we saw Molly Stanwood week 1 we're like, man, this is going to be a team to be reckoned with, especially Chip Hills as well after week 4. But you have that sprinkled in there where they get shut out by Big Rapids. They get stomped by Reed City at Reed City. And it just wasn't looking great for the rest of the way. Although they did make the postseason, they lost to Red Hot Chesaning there in district semifinal 88 there in round number 1. Central Montcalm ends their gold season and will transition into the silver this year at the 500 mark. So Newaygo in their first year under legendary head coach Ralph Munger, now leading the program, finishing 2-4, 3-6 overall. While the team didn't have the record that they were maybe looking for year 1, they still showed some promise. They won some big games. They beat Chip Hills in a thriller on the road earlier on in the month of October, as well as they had a really nice game where they played against Moore with Stanwood and just dominated. They lost to Kent City in week 1 in a nail biter, as well Comstock Park in week 9. But still, a team that's got a really good head coach and a really good group of athletes and now have a system in place. We'll wait to see what they have in mind here for year number 2 under Coach Munger. Chip Hills, 1-5, 4-5. We saw them win 2 games in a row, including defeating Olivet in week number 1, dominating Grant. Although from there, it kind of sputtered out due to injuries and inconsistencies on the offensive side of the football. And defensively, they had some struggles as well in the secondary. But I think this team definitely can still turn it around. And we look forward to seeing what they're going to be able to put out on the field this year with Coach Malong and company. So we'll see what necessarily might happen here coming up in this year 3, since the major coaching change back in 2021. And finally, at the bottom, it was Grant, the lone win for Chip Hills in the conference slate at 1-5 and then 4-5. 1-8 was the Grant Tigers this year. Overall, they were 0-6 in conference play. Their lone win was against Wyoming Kelloggsville in week number 1. A dominating win. Unfortunately, they dropped their next 8 in a row and really no close games. But for Grant, under Coach Hill, really had to scrap everything from the surface, restart. It's a really tough place to be. So this will be the true year that we'll see what this program can do with a fresh slate coming up here in the fall of 2024. Now we move over into the silver, a definite wonder of who is going to win it this year. While we did have a favorite that did end up going all the way, there's a lot of intrigue going into this season. That favorite was Kent City, 3-0 in conference play, 7-3 overall. Really good season for Kent City. I mean, they really battled their way through a lot of these tough games where they were able to dominate some games on the road, especially. They did end up losing to Reed City and Buchanan on the season, and then Hart in the district semifinal number 86, 44-22, and Hart's miraculous run to a district final appearance against Reed City. But it's still a good season from Kent City. They're just looking to get up that postseason step forward that they've been looking for. They've been dominant in the regular season, and Coach Gropp's squad's really going to look for a postseason push upcoming this year, or at least that's their hope entering this campaign. Lakeview came in second in the conference. While they only won 3 games, they got 2 of them in conference action, 2-1 overall in the CSAA silver, as well as 3-6 overall on the season. Lakeview definitely showed some signs. We looked at a couple scores and went, wow, this team really dominated. They really played a good game against McBain, a team that took a step down, but was still a really reputable program. And then they ended up beating Allen Park Cabrini in dominant fashion at home. They were able to win at Moy Stanwood. They finished off a little bit sluggish, but they ended it on a good note against White Cloud on the road, able to defeat the Indians, who were really a hot football team at the start of the year, who ended up finishing last in the conference. 0-3, 4-5 was White Cloud on the season. Coach Trice's team really started off well. They were 3 of their first 5, as well as 4 of their first 6 were W's in the column. But the last couple games, it really kind of fell apart a little bit, losing to Morley Stanwood, Lakeview, and White Pigeon. 3 straight losses to get to that 4-5 mark, 0-3 in conference. And in third was Morley Stanwood, 1-2, 1-8 overall in conference and overall respectively. Wins against White Cloud was the lone one on the season, and it was at home. We were wondering if Morley Stanwood was going to make it. Eric Etchison was hoping and betting that they would, and they ended up doing so. And I believe week number 7 of the season. So really exciting stuff here to see what the silver is going to be now with Central Montcalm in the mix. That's going to be very interesting to find out. And we're going to break it all down for you here, especially on the rundown this fall. We are looking forward to an expansion here with the show. Can't reveal the details for you just yet, but just know CSAA football coverage is going to be going up to the next level here, and we are really excited to see what will happen really this season, because this is going to be a year, especially with the CSAA changing, one less team in the gold, one team in the silver. Now it's going to be really a tale of two leagues, not necessarily saying the gold and the silver was super lopsided. It was definitely a differential in level, but now it really feels like we have almost two even playing fields. Now, obviously, the silver against the gold straight up wouldn't win, but I think now we have a lot more consideration of, okay, this is going to be really interesting because you're going to have a couple of winners, potentially a couple of favorites in each division to watch out for. So our coverage is going to be great. We're going to have some great things here on the rundown. It's going to be myself as well as JT Scarpelli. We're going to have a couple guests on the show, and we're looking forward to having some more coaches this year. Really looking forward to seeing where the show is going. Right now, the rundown's in a little bit of a lull with me and Joe, and we're going to keep going through it, and we keep hoping you guys will tune in and listen. But we're going to get to some more previews and stuff coming up for all the football season and really just all of the fall in general, because we're looking forward to school back in session. Maybe not necessarily the books and the homework, but the sports. That's what we are looking forward to. So we're going to get to a whole great preview, in-depth preview. We'll have some more things published online at BigRapidsDailyNews.com. I'll keep you up to date when those things go out, but it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. We can't wait for a great season on deck. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to pay some bills. We'll be right back here on News Radio WBRN.
Bezos Digital is a proud sponsor of the West Michigan Sports Show. They specialize in elements to help take your business to the next level with everything digital. Bezos Digital is different from traditional media companies and digital advertising agencies because of our attention to detail for our clients. We pride ourselves on the creative we build for our clients and the positioning we offer them within their target market. You can find out more information at DezosDigital.com or by contacting the Big Rapids Media Network.
All right, we're back here on the West Michigan Sports Show presented by Bezos Digital. We're getting into the schedule breakdown as well as some things and keys that the teams are looking at this year, just based on an analyst perspective from back here in the radio studio. So we'll get into the silver first, and then we'll get into the gold. For this upcoming year, the schedule goes as follows for the Morley Stanwood Mohawks. They're going to be at home against Holton, at home against Kalkaska. They'll go on the road to Tri-County in week number 3. Central Montcalm at home, and then they're going to have a 3-game road stand against Lakeview, White Cloud, and at Comstock Park. They'll finish at home against Kent City and at Leroy Pine River to finish off the season in non-conference. So Morley Stanwood's going to have some winnable games this year. There's no doubt about it. When you look at some of these teams like Pine River, Kalkaska, and especially a couple of these silver teams that they know that they can play. So it's going to be really excited to see what they're going to do this upcoming season with Coach Campione. And they're going to try to see if they can turn it around for Morley Stanwood football here this upcoming year in a new conference. So Central Montcalm is making their first debut here in this new conference, which may or may not be getting a name change. We're not sure quite yet, but right now we're going to consider it the CSAA Silver. But here's the schedule for Central Montcalm this coming fall. They'll be at home against Holton Lake, at home against Newaygo, and then a 4-game road stand against Chippewa Hills, Morley Stanwood, Berrien Springs for homecoming on the 27th, and at Kent City there for the 4th of October. Then Lakeview, White Cloud, and Hart, home, away, respectively, for week 7, 8, and 9. So Central Montcalm's going to have a brand new slate, and they're going to have an opportunity to be at the top of this thing. There's no doubt about it. The consistency, the athletes in the program, they definitely can make a step forward. They just have to commit to it, and Coach Kripe certainly knows what it takes to get up to that level. They really shocked a lot of us a couple years ago when they made their magical run. They can do so again, but they just got to have the consistent ball each and every Friday night. That's really the thing that holds this team back, and we're excited to see what they do in the silver. For Kent City, they're the team to beat. There's definitely the silver team of the division. They're the gold tier of the division, you could say, of the silver. Their upcoming schedule this year, they're going to be at Newaygo, at home against Godwin Heights of Wyoming, at Lakeview, home against Hart, which will be a very fun football game, and then at Tri-County. What a back-to-back that is going to be. Then home against Central Montcalm, home against White Cloud for homecoming, at Morley Stanwood Stanwood, and home against the Grant Tigers. So that's your season for the Kent City Eagles coming up. And for Coach Gropp, this is really going to be a run it back year. Obviously, they're going to lose some seniors from this year's group, but they can really make a stand, and they have showed that they can rebuild and reload and still be at the top of conference contention, and that's what they're going to be looking to do so this year. Coach Trice in year number 2 for the Indians, they're going to start with 2 games on the road against Shelby and Harrison, and then guess this, 4 straight home games. How about that? Hesperia, Lakeview, Chip Hills, and Moy Stanwood, boom, 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 boom in a row, all at home, and then they'll finish with a 3-game road stand at Kent City for homecoming, at Central Montcalm, and at Houghton. And definitely with Coach Trice, we saw last year the team took a dip in schedule strength to try to get some wins and get some confidence within the group, and they finished with 4-5, which is a pretty reputable record in your first year of a rebuild. But now they're going to see some tough teams. They're going to have to play Kent City. They're going to have to play Central Montcalm. They're going to go against Chippewa Hills, a team that they feel confident with. They're going to play Shelby once again. So there's going to be some opportunities to win some games. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to have a couple of tough sledding runs here this upcoming year. So we'll see how they do. Finally, the Lakeview Wildcats are going to see an interesting season with Coach Reinhardt. They're going to start at home with McBain, and then at home with Saugatuck, and at home at Kent City. Then they'll go on the road to White Cloud, at Moly Stanwood in week 5, at Grant, at Central Montcalm, at Hemlock, and then home against Chip Hills to round it out. So Lakeview, this is a team that we saw last year was really kind of flirting near the bottom, but kept fighting their way back out of it. And the style they play football, they can definitely see some ways to get by defenses and be able to score some points, but they got to do it consistently, and they got to improve that defense if they're going to really make a run this year. But they're going to really test them right out of the gate. Saugatuck, McBain, and Kent City. Although those 3 games are at home, definitely going to be tough sledding. They're not going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy ball games. So we'll see how the Wildcats do and what's going to be an interesting first year of the CSAA Silver, or other name may be determined for this new classification coming up. But we will move over now into what was formerly known as the Gold for 2024. And we'll start with the Chippewa Hills Warriors, because their schedule, they got an interesting group of runs, and that's going to be a big factor for this team this upcoming year. So they're going to start out at home with Olivet in that series where they played them at Olivet last year. Then they're home against Reed City, and then home against Central Montcalm, so they'll play the Hornets once again. Then at Big Rapids, at White Cloud, at Newaygo. Then they'll have a brief home stint against Tri-County, and then at Grant and at Lakeview. Going to be really tough. They're going to have 5 games on the road, and the one game they're going to have at home is against Tri-County. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on their bodies and especially their mentality overall in the season. But the resiliency of that group was certainly apparent last year. While they didn't have the depth, they continued to fight. They never laid up. And I think that's something that they have to have coming into this year to try to make some noise. Grant Tigers in this year of the rebuild, they're going to be going against Kelloggsville once again, hoping to get on track in week 1 like they did last year. Then they're going to be at home against Tri-County, at Newaygo, home against the Fremont Packers, at Big Rapids, home against Lakeview, at Reed City, home against Chip Hills, and at Kent City. So a perfect home away after week number 1. So every other week's going to be different. And I think especially with the fluctuation of that being so frequent, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Hill and that crew handles it. Grant should be improved this year. They got a couple of their key players back that were younger players, but it's still going to be a tough test to get out of this conference for how good it is. And we'll see what they do, especially I'm sure the game everybody's wondering is how they're going to do against that team across M37 and the Newaygo Lions, who we'll go to next. Home against Kent City, at Central Montcalm, home against Grant. 2 games in a row on the road in week 4 and 5. Tri-County and Reed City. Really tough back-to-back there. But then they're at home. They can settle in against Chip Hills, Big Rapids, and then Lake Odessa Lakewood in a non-conference matchup, and then at Fremont to end the year in week 9. So Coach Munger, he knows how to turn these programs around. He's showed it once. He can do it again. It's going to take time, and it's going to take the details. He's a big details guy, and if the details aren't right, he's going to let you know about it. They found out that last year, and so now in this system, seeing if they can take a step forward here and maybe see if they can get into that top half of the conference conversation and see if they can get above 500. And with this schedule, they're going to have an opportunity to do that, especially at home against Big Rapids. They're going to be at home in the rivalry against Grant, at home against Kent City. A lot of these winnable games, Chip Hills as well, that they had a really close games last year. There's 4 games right there. If they can win all those home games, they're going to be in good shape, and they just got to scrap out a couple away games to be able to get to over 500. For Howard City, Tri-County, for Coach Butler and company, this is going to be a fun schedule for them to really kind of follow along with, because they're going to have a lot of opportunities to win some games this year once again. At Comstock Park, at Grant, home against Moe Stanwood, home against Newaygo, home against Kent City, and home against Big Rapids. So 4 straight home games, and arguably all winnable home games. Big Rapids will be the tough one. They're at the end of the slate. And then Chip Hills at home against Reed City and home against Ludington. That Chip Hills game in week 7 is away, by the way, to finish out the year. For Tri-County, they have athletes. They have athletes. Their offense is great. The defense is the prowess point. Can they pressure the quarterback? Can they stop the run? That's going to be the biggest thing for them to become an elite team this upcoming year. But it's going to be very fun to see how they attack the schedule, because I'm looking at it. There's going to be a lot of wins on the table for this team, but how is it going to translate to the postseason? That's what we're going to have to find out. For the Reed City Coyotes, they are going to have one whale of a schedule this year. This might be the toughest one out of all of the CSAA teams. They're going to be at Kingsley once again, the state champs in week 1 at their place. That by itself is going to be tough. At Chip Hills, home against Big Rapids in the rivalry game, home against Maple City Glen Lake, home against Newaygo, home against, you're going to hear this right, Pontiac Notre Dame Prep, a team out of Detroit that was in the playoffs last year, home against Grant, at Tri-County, and at the Beale City Aggies. What a schedule put together by Coach Schenkel. And despite losing a couple of key players on that offensive side of the football, they're going to go right back at it in attack mode, and they scheduled every hard team, every tough playoff team they could. So this is going to be a year of defiance for Reed City. Can they keep this success going? It is going to be a wild ride to see how they finish in the record books, and they're certainly going to be battle-tested by the postseason. And here we go. Last but not least, the Big Rapids Cardinals, your defending champs, home against Paw Paw, a team that gave them fits last year, at Fruitport, at Reed City in weeks 2 and 3, home against Chip Hills, home against Grant, at Tri-County, at Newaygo, home against Coopersville, and at Alma in week number 9. So a really similar schedule from last year for Coach Seltzer, and I think that certainly goes to show that he believes in the formula, and he's going to run it back and do it again. But it's going to be interesting. Now they're going to have to go to Reed City after they were able to knock off the Coyotes at home for the first time in a while. So now it's going to be revenge time, and they're going to have to go to Tri-County, a tough place to play over there, as well as they're going to play Coopersville and Paw Paw. So going to be some tough games, but Big Rapids from this schedule to me is saying, we got the group. We believe we have the depth. Let's run it back and do it again and see if we can get this school at more than a district trophy this year. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll see if those big juniors can make a big step forward and even have even more success and even bigger target shares and even more action and snaps on the field, and see if they can do it again. But it's going to be up in the air, guys. It's going to be so fun to follow. You got to be sure to stay tuned with us here on the West Michigan Sports Show, as well as the Rundown weekly football coverage on News Radio WBRN, as well as the Big Rapids Media Network. It's going to be a fun time. We can't wait to bring it to you here all season long. So there's your inside little sneak preview, little snippet of the fall coming up here. Obviously, it's July 12th, so things are going to change, but we'll get you some in-depth breakdowns as well as some schedule releases upcoming on our website, BigRapidsDailyNews.com, for this show. And we'll keep you up to date on what's going on in high school football here in the West Michigan area, and especially the CSAA here in our listening area. Big thanks to Dazos Digital, real business solutions in the digital world, for your sponsorship and support of this show. Big thanks also to our other great sponsors, including Johnson's Automotive, the Schuberg Insurance Agency, Quality Car and Truck Repair, Alter Care Big Rapids, Paracetal Sales and Service of Big Rapids, Moto the Mecosta Transit Authority, and the Mecosta Osceola Career Center. Big thanks to you for your support on the West Michigan Sports Show. That was a lot, and we'll see you next week here with even more great coverage coming up here on the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by News Radio WBRN and Dazos Digital. Brandon Wirth saying sign off. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back same time, same place here for the West Michigan Sports Show on WBRN.